For the past 14 episodes, we've been preparing for a future that is arriving faster than most people realize. Together, we've explored artificial intelligence, automation, attention, purpose, contribution, comfort, and even the quiet voice that often keeps us from becoming whom we're capable of being. Every episode answered a different question, but together, they were building towards something much larger. Because preparing for the future isn't really about learning how to use new technology. It's about understanding what remains uniquely human when technology becomes extraordinarily capable. As artificial intelligence grows more intelligent, and as automation becomes more common, and as information, creativity, and knowledge becomes available to almost anyone with a device in their hand, one question rises above all others. How do we remain relevant? Or perhaps the better question is, how do we remain relevant in a post-scarcity world? For years, we've measured progress by what technology could do. Faster computers, smarter software, instant access to information. In many ways, we're witnessing the birth of a post-scarcity technology. But technology was never the destination of this channel. It was only the backdrop. Because having access to extraordinary technology does not automatically make us extraordinary people. The real challenge isn't creating a post-scarcity society. The real challenge is becoming a post-scarcity human. Someone who remains relevant, not because they can compete with machines, but because they develop the uniquely human qualities that no technology can think, choose, or live on in their behalf. That's the journey we're beginning today. Over the next several episodes, we're going to explore the remarkable capabilities that have always defined humanity. Not our intelligence, but our ability to imagine tomorrow, to develop wisdom, to build relationships, to become better stewards, and to leave a legacy that reaches people we may never meet. And it all begins with one extraordinary human ability: the ability to live for a future that doesn't exist. Every living creature experiences time. Animals prepare for winter. Birds gather materials for nests before their young hatch. Nature is filled with examples of planning and preparation. But human beings appear to possess something more remarkable. We can imagine a future that doesn't exist, and then deliberately change our lives because of it. A young student spends years studying for a career that hasn't begun. Parents sacrifice today so that their children can have opportunities they themselves may never experience. An inventor devotes decades to solving a problem whose impact may not be fully understood until long after they're gone. Communities build schools for children who haven't been born yet. Civilizations plant forests whose shade will comfort generations they will never meet. Those decisions aren't reactions to the present. They are investments in an imagined future. The ability has shaped every great civilization in humanity. Before even a bridge was built, someone imagined people using it. Before every discovery that changed the world, someone believed that there was something worth finding. Before every generation that inherited a better life, someone chose to build more than they consumed. Perhaps that is the one defining characteristic of being human. We don't simply live for today. We have an extraordinary ability to reach into tomorrow with our imagination and allow it to give us a vision that shapes the choices that we make right now. And maybe that's where becoming a post-scarcity human truly begins. Not by asking what technology will make possible, but by asking what kind of future is worthy of the life we're building today. Every one of us likes to imagine that our future will somehow be better than our present. We picture ourselves healthier, wiser, more confident, more patient, more capable. We imagine stronger relationships, greater peace, and a life that reflects the person we always hoped to become. But here's something that we don't think about very often. That future version of ourselves doesn't appear all at once. It arrives quietly, one ordinary decision at a time. The conversation that you choose to have today, the promise you decided to keep, the book you finally began reading, the walk you almost skipped, the kindness you offered when no one was expecting it. None of those moments feel life-changing by themselves. In fact, they often feel so ordinary that they're easy to ignore. But your future self notices every one of them, because every decision is casting a vote for the person you're becoming. Your future isn't built by one dramatic breakthrough. It is built by thousands of seemingly insignificant moments that slowly shape your character. And character has a remarkable way of becoming destiny. That is why becoming a post-scarcity human isn't about waiting for some extraordinary opportunity. It's about recognizing today's ordinary choices are already introducing tomorrow's extraordinary person. Now, I would like for you to try something. Imagine that, somehow, you could meet yourself 10 years from today. Not the version that you hope will exist, the version your current choices are actually creating. What would that conversation be like? Would they thank you for the small decisions that you kept making when nobody was watching? Would they tell you those quiet moments became the foundations of a very meaningful life? Or would they gently ask you, why did you keep believing there would always be more time? The truth is, your future self isn't waiting for one perfect decision. They're waiting for today's decision, and then tomorrow's, and then the day after that. Because every day you either move a little closer to the person you want to become, or a little farther away. The remarkable thing is that the distance is usually measured in inches, not miles. That is why we so rarely notice while it's happening. Until one day we look back and we realize those ordinary choices quietly became the story of our lives. So perhaps the most important question isn't, what do I want my future to look like? It's this: what kind of person is my future waiting for me to become? Because in a post-scarcity world, your greatest advantage will never be the technology that you have access to. It will be the person you're becoming all along. We've spent the last several weeks exploring an important question together. Not just how the world is changing, but how we should change with it. We've talked about taking responsibility instead of avoiding it. We've discovered that purpose isn't something that we stumble across. It is something we intentionally build. We remembered the dreams that quietly slipped into the background while life demanded our attention. And we challenged the voice that told us that we weren't capable, weren't ready, or had simply waited too long. If you've been walking through this journey with me, I hope you've noticed something. This series was never really about artificial intelligence. It never was about just automation. It never was just about the future. It has always been about you, about the choices you're making, about the person you're becoming, because every episode has been preparing you for one realization. Your future is not waiting for you to become someone else. Your future is waiting for you to become more completely yourself. And that's exactly where we're going next. So, where do we go from here? Well, we begin living like the future we're preparing for is already arriving. Not someday, today. Every conversation that you have, every promise you keep, every opportunity you learn, and every act of kindness you give, every difficult decision you choose not to avoid, every small step you take toward the life that you're trying to build. You see, these are no longer just isolated moments. They're becoming your reality and your identity. One day you will look back and realize there wasn't a single moment that changed everything. There were hundreds of ordinary moments, hundreds of small choices, hundreds of quiet decisions that, over time, transformed the way you thought, the way you acted, and ultimately, the person you became. And that's one of the most hopeful truths that we've discovered together. You don't have to become a different person overnight. You simply have to keep becoming the person your future already invites you to be. Because in a post-scarcity world, remaining relevant isn't just about what you know. It's about who you're choosing to become. So tomorrow morning, before the world begins asking for your attention, I want you to ask yourself one simple question. Who am I choosing to become today? Not next year, not when life becomes easier. Today. Then choose one action that belongs to that person. If you want to become healthier, take a walk. If you want to become a creator, make something before you consume something. If you want to be more dependable, keep the promise you've already made. If you want to be more courageous, have the conversation that you've been avoiding. Don't try to redesign your entire life tomorrow. Just refuse to let tomorrow become another day that happens to you. Because identity isn't built in the extraordinary moments. It is built in the ordinary decisions, repeated long enough to become who you are. The future version of you is being shaped by the choices that you make when no one is watching. So tomorrow, choose one action that your future self will thank you for. Then do it before the day has a chance to convince you otherwise. We've covered a lot in this episode, but every idea points back to the same truth. The future isn't asking you to become someone else. It is asking you to become more intentional about who you are becoming. You see, responsibility gives your life weight. Purpose gives it direction. Dreams remind you of what is still possible. Courage moves you despite your fear. And your everyday choices quietly shape your identity, one decision at a time. None of those things require a perfect life, but they do require a deliberate one. Because in a post-scarcity world, your greatest advantage won't be having more access than everyone else. It will be having the discipline to become someone while everyone else is simply reacting to whatever comes next. That's how ordinary people become extraordinary. Not through talent, not through luck, but through the quiet decision to become a little bit better today than they were yesterday. The future is arriving faster than any generation has ever experienced. Artificial intelligence will continue to grow. Automation will continue to expand. The world will keep changing. But one question will remain. How do we stay relevant in a post-scarcity world? The answer has never been about competing with machines. It's about becoming the kind of human that technology can never replace. If you want to stay relevant in a world of infinite access, then just don't prepare for the future. Prepare the person who is going to live in it. And if you want to know how to do that, subscribe. This is DB Lewis, and I'll see you in the next one.